What is up, guys? Ben Melican here, back for Carl's Mystery Tackle Box. You can see, got the boat hooked up, got the truck behind me, and have a beautiful, beautiful lake back behind me this morning that we need to go out and catch some fish on. I get a ton of questions from you guys about how to catch fish when it's super cold outside, and I'm going to show you how we can catch some fish using a few different baits from my mystery tackle box at this lake right here behind me. So let's get the boat launched, get out on the lake, and I'm going to start sharing some tips with you guys to help catch more fish in the winter. So when I'm out fishing this time of year, there's always a three-prong approach I try to use whenever I'm met with the cover we got over here. Let me move the camera a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. But basically, we have a whole bunch of chunk rock, secondary points, main lake points, channel swing banks, stuff like that. So we got a lot of chunk wrap and stuff. And so I use a three-prong approach to get after these types of areas. Now, my favorite way of all time to go out and fish these areas is absolutely with a football jig. So let's talk about this football jig, my setup, rod, reel, line, and everything, and then I'll show you how I like to fish it. So let's talk quick about the jig and why I like the football jig. You know, it's called a football jig because it has a football-shaped head on it, and so what that does is lets this bait stand up off the bottom, give it that nice defensive craw-type posture. Not only that, but this Perfection jig has these two little bars on it, which is going to aid in that process. And then I put this baby Rage Craw trailer on the back, nice small profile for some of these spotted bass lakes or even largemouth lakes when the bite's really tough. I throw this on a 7.4 heavy action rod, 7-to-1 gear ratio reel, and 17-pound fluorocarbon line. So let me show you guys how I like to throw this bait. So when it's cold outside, I like to get on the sides of these chunk rock secondary points. Secondary points are my absolute favorite. Main lake points will be good sometimes too, but secondary points, whenever you have a little bit of wind blowing in. But today's kind of like a bluebird type day. There's not a whole lot of clouds in the sky, pretty high skies, not much wind. So that's what I'm gonna pull out this jig. And I like to throw it parallel to these banks, out a little bit deeper. So I like to put the boat in like 22 to 25 feet of water, cast in a little bit of an angle towards the bank, but not all the way to the bank, probably halfway or so. And then we're just gonna drag it on the bottom, kind of pop it along. Nothing ridiculous here. It's not rocket science. You don't need to put too much action in it. A lot of the way you're gonna fish this bait in the winter time is slow, methodically, a lot of dragging, a lot of pauses, and no super erratic hops or anything like that. When I'm fishing this bait, it's when it's a tough bite, high skies like there is today, just kind of dragging that guy along. Now, the second part of this three-prong approach to catching bass this time of year, in the coldest part of the year, is something that's kind of off the wall, but I really, really like to do it whenever possible, and that's throw a crankbait like this Excite flat-sided crankbait. It's a shallow runner. It doesn't dive any deeper than 6 feet, and the way you got to throw this thing is absolutely key. You're looking for one thing and one thing only, and that is wind. Whenever you can find wind rolling into a bank, that's the only place you can really get bit a lot of times when this water's in the 30s, 40s. If you're not having wind in your area, it's definitely not going to be a good time to throw a crankbait. So as far as tackle goes for a shallow crankbait, I like about a 7-foot medium power rod and moderate fast action. I like a graphite rod because I like the sensitivity of graphite, but it has to be a slower action. So the taper needs to be further down the blank. You don't want it to be a super fast action because you're going to pull the bait away from those fish with those treble hooks. I almost always crank with 12 or 15-pound fluorocarbon line. If I'm trying to get a little bit deeper, I'll throw a 12. If I'm throwing around heavy cover, I want to keep it up over the top of cover, I'll throw 15. As far as cranking, I always use the same speed reel, and that's a 6:3-to-1 gear ratio reel. I feel like it's fast enough that one picks it up on the end of the cast. I can pick that line up really, really quick, but at the same time, I'm not pulling it away too quick from the fish with like a 7-to-1 or something. So 6-to-1, 6-something-to-1 gear ratio reel is absolutely perfect for me. Now, for the final part of this three-prong approach, we're going to talk about situations when you're not getting bit out deep on the football jig, dragging it around, and you're not getting bit cranking around, finding those windy banks. And that is, we're going to downsize, and we're going to try something a little bit slower, and that is the shaky head worm. But not just any shaky head. I like this worm a lot right here. This is the Big Bite coon tail worm. So this is kind of just like one of those ribbed style worms. And then I really like this shaky head too. That's on shopcarls.com. It actually came in my mystery tackle box too. But this is a mustad shaky head. It's got like an alien style head. That's what we call that right there. And that's going to come through both rock and brush really well, which is going to be perfect for how we're throwing this. Let me show you how we do throw it. So again, on these same chunk rock style banks, I'm gonna move the boat now kind of in between where I was with the football jig when I was at a little bit deeper and the crankbait when I was up shallow. And I'm gonna throw it a 45-degree angle at the bank, because at this point you're throwing this, dude, you pretty much don't know what's in the area, or you're going back through an area where you already caught a bunch of fish. You want to kind of cover the entire water column, see if you miss something back behind. So I'm going to throw about a 60 or a 45 degree angle to the bank, let it go to the bottom, and we're not going to shake it or anything like that. I know people think you have to shake a shaky headworm. You don't need to overthink it, folks. You just got to cast it out, let it sink to the bottom. We're going to do the same thing we did with the football jig. Pretty exciting. Just enlightening. Don't you love it? Actually, it's super, super deadly though. It's effective when they're not really aggressive, like they want to eat that crankbait, and they want something a little bit smaller than the football head, so that's why I downsized this guy. Now you guys might notice I'm not throwing the shaky head on a spinning rod. A lot of people throw it on a spinning rod. I tend to like to stay away from a spinning rod whenever it's possible because I like the torque I get with a bait caster, and I like to drive that hook home even on some bigger fish and use a little bit heavier line when I'm on this super, super chunky, nasty, snaggy style rock. So what I like to use is a 7-foot medium power rod. Like it's a medium power fast action rod, 7-to-1 gear ratio reel, 10 or 12 pound fluorocarbon, so still pretty light fluorocarbon to go along with this shaky head. And to me, I can fish it just as effectively with this guy as a spinning rod and get as many bites, yet at the same time I got more power, I got more control over the fish, that I can use a little bit heavier line. Well, that's all I got for you guys today. Hopefully you can go out and use this 3-prong approach now that it's nice and cold outside. You know, start off with this football jig. This guy is an absolute killer. This is my favorite bait to throw in the water. It's really, really cold. And honestly, it's my favorite bait to throw a lot of the other times of the year as well. So throw this guy, drag it around, get some of your best bites of the year. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to go subscribe to Carl's Mystery Tackle Box YouTube channel. And I'll catch you guys very soon. I'm out of here. Peace.